Okay, so good afternoon guys. Today is Monday the 31st of January and it's just coming up to midday here in the UK. So I hope you guys are doing well. Apologies that there was not much notice for this TA update. I've got a few things to do this afternoon, so I thought I'd do this a little bit earlier and just in time for the New York session. So I hope this helps you stay on the right side of the trades. So let me just, I'll just crack on straight away, okay? So basically what we're looking at here obviously is the daily Bitcoin chart. And actually just before we begin, I just wanted to say something. If you're for some reason looking at these TA updates just to gauge direction in regards to your altcoins or to your DeFi protocols or whatever, just remember that everything surrounds the price of Bitcoin, okay? So it doesn't matter what technical analysis update I do for this coin or that coin or that particular coin or this particular project. It really doesn't matter, because if Bitcoin decides to go up, most coins will go up, and if Bitcoin decides to go down, most coins will go down. And it's just the nature of crypto markets. It's been like this, it's always been like this, and I expect it'll take a long time before it kind of stops being like this. I mean, there are very few exceptions, but I just wanted you to keep that in mind. Even though I'm going to give you some levels and areas of interest for some of these altcoins, it's very important that you keep an eye on Bitcoin if you really want to gauge either momentum or direction. So also another thing is, if you didn't have time to read it, the disclaimer, please realize that I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here to give you financial advice. Everything I say and do here is really just for entertainment and educational purposes. They're just technical analysis. It's a game of probabilities, and I'm just, if any time I say this trade or that trade, it's usually referring to what I would do. I'm not telling you what to do with your money, okay? So just to be very clear, if you're not too sure, please pause the video once it's finished. Go back to the beginning and pause the video at that disclaimer or at the very start of the intro there. And just read that disclaimer. It's an important legal notice, so just please be aware of that. Anyway, with all that out of the way, let's just crack on. I'm looking at the daily chart here on Bybit. I've separated it into balance areas. These balance areas, if you guys haven't been following, are literally just the volume profile, volume areas if you like. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, you should look at the previous TA updates so that I don't have to keep repeating myself every single week. But essentially what they are is just where the most of the high volume clusters are in these particular regions, okay, these particular areas, okay. So we are inside of this balance zone here, of this particular area here. So with the bottoms at around about 31,500 and the top of that is around about 41,000. And we're kind of rotating inside it, and we haven't quite got to the bottom and we haven't quite got to the top. So obviously if you look at the daily chart, you think, well, there must be other forces at hand and not just volume, right? So I've highlighted a few things here for you so that you can, obviously this is good to get an overview of the markets, but I just wanted you to get a better sense of why I use volume. And essentially I'm just going to look at something here that sort of brings this to attention, okay? So again, this is a volume study. It's called fixed range volume profile, and essentially what I've done is I've just highlighted from this price here excuse me, from this date here, from the 18th of May to the 5th of August, we were ranging within this kind of like area here, right? So we're basically back inside of this balance area. In fact, I'm going to put both of them on. I'll put them all on. Okay. So you can see I've got one there, I've got another one there, and there's another one forming here, okay? But I just wanted you to pay particular attention to this one here, okay? So this is where we spend the most time in this balance area here, okay? With it inside of this volume area. And of course, we've printed a value area high, a value area low, and a point of control, all right? So I'm just going to do something which is really basic. Essentially just put a horizontal line exactly where this point of control is. And if you look at the price and where the price is bounced, it's exactly at that point, okay? And this is how long, you know, so this is in August, so it's like 6-7 months later. So just bear that in mind, okay? So the value area low of that is around about 32,300, and the value area high of that is around about 39,280, okay? So I could even put another little rectangle inside of that rectangle. Okay, you could do it something like this. Why am I doing this? It's just to illustrate that there are other forces at hand, and obviously this is an important, this point of control is an important price point, you know, an important area that people were interested in trading it. And I will show you this as well on Exocharts in a little bit. There's a point of control, a naked point of control there. But this is also visible, even if you're not at the stage where you can use Exocharts, this is also visible if you know what you're doing in volume studies. It's also visible here on TradingView. So I just wanted you to sort of like peek your eyes to this anyway. Right, so what are we doing here right now? In terms of market structure, we're still printing lower highs and lower lows, okay? So essentially we've gotten to this high here. We didn't quite close this gap here. There's a largely inefficient move here. This is large liquid candle to the downside. We haven't quite closed that gap. Essentially also, the last sort of like couple of weeks, I've been screaming for $42,000 or somewhere between $41,000, which is basically the top of this range here, and the bottom of this range here, which is around about $43,000. And I've been saying that even if the price was to do something like this and come all the way up to this one here, there's still a very good possibility that this is a very, very good short and that we go much lower, because this could still reject here, okay? So the value area low, if you like, the balance low, the volume edge, sorry, the low volume edge of this balance area here could still act as rejection, as resistance. And essentially, I only believe that we are bullish, and this is already at $43,000, okay? I only believe that we are bullish if we break above this market structure here, okay? If we were to print a higher high, then I would start being a little bit more bullish and thinking, okay, perhaps we are going to go much higher, and this was the temporary bottom down here, okay? But at the moment, I'm not convinced, okay? So I can only go with what the charts are telling us. And for me, the charts are telling us that we're still printing lower lows and low highs, okay? So that's basically what I'm saying right now. We're still printing. We tried to get above. Let me just go here on the 4-hour chart. It's perhaps a little bit better. So let me just simplify this for you. So the more immediate price action, okay? So obviously we printed that low there. This was, I think it was on Monday last week. That was the Monday high. This was the Monday low, okay? And we kind of like spiked above. There's a 4-hour here order block, and I can make, I think I've got it highlighted here already. Yeah, okay, so essentially you've got this little order block here that's been causing resistance. We spiked above, we came back down, tested this low volume area here, okay, printed an equal lows here. So there's some equal lows down here, as you can see here. You can see that on the lower time frames. 4-hour equal lows there, and we spiked back up, and we came back and we got a rejection again from this bearish order block here, this 4-hour order block, which is acting as resistance. As a result of that, we got a pretty, like, you know, pretty significant rejection there. You could even argue that we tried to spike back up again, but we couldn't, and we broke below it, and we are just at the point of control. Now, at this point of control, I'm not inclined to take a short, but I do think that perhaps we bounce here and come and test this yet again, and maybe even this one here now, because now we've got another 4-hour order block. So we could even come and print this a little bit higher, which we've already kind of tapped, and then either come and test these equal lows or come and test the range low here, around about 32,000 to 33,000, okay? So essentially what I'm saying is that at the moment we've got plenty of resistance above with this order block here and this order block here, and you know, at the moment it just looks like we're going to print a lower high, and we're just going to go much lower, okay? Of course we are, for me it's a no trade zone because we are at the range point of control, and we could very well bounce from here, okay? So at this stage I wouldn't be looking for a short just yet, nor would I be looking for a long. You should be looking for a long down here at these levels, and perhaps even these levels if we come back and test them, okay? Again, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not telling you what to do with the money, I'm just telling you what I would do in my situation, you know, if I was trading this. So again, what invalidates this whole setup that we're going to go lower is if indeed we print a higher high, okay? So obviously if the price comes here and does something like this, and he goes above this 4-hour block, then it is quite likely that we come and test these levels here, $41,000, $42,000. The reason I'm a little bit more reluctant with these $42,000 levels is because it's become glaringly obvious on the chart, and everybody is calling for that number. So everybody thinks that we're going to go up to $42,000 and way back down again to $30,000, $29,000, because that's essentially what I've been saying for the last 2 weeks. But it's become a lot more obvious now, and it's a lot more expected, and my contrarian mind is telling me that this is not how it's going to play out now, because it's a crowded trade, okay, because there's too many people playing that trade. So essentially everybody's seen that we've got plenty of confluence here. I mean, even if I put, for example, the VWAPs, this is volume weighted average price, and you look at the monthly VWAP here in red, it's sitting at around about $41,000. So everybody's expecting it to, we've just bounced on the weekly here, as you can see. This is what we've done today. So this is the weekly. We just bounced on the weekly, and now we're kind of just above the point of control, below this low volume node here. But everybody's expecting, it's like, okay, we just bounced on the weekly, so now next stage is we go to the monthly. So these are the VWAP traders and breakout traders, and then also the people that are just kind of hopeful that that this is going to go to the all-time highs. And there's also the bears that thinking like, yeah, now we're going to go lower, but first we got to go higher to pick up that liquidity. So essentially there's too many people waiting for that $42,000 level. For the years that I've been here on Bitcoin, one thing that I know for sure is that a lot of the time these crowded trades do not work, and what we expect Bitcoin to do, it does exactly the opposite. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this actually just come straight down without testing that 42k level. So it really depends on what the traditional markets are doing. At the moment, the Nasdaq and the S&P are looking a little bit, not too bad, but looking a little bit weak. You can see here, there's basically just range trading. They're just trading within a range. They're kind of dumped, and it's just kind of trading within a range. But there's not really any direction, significant direction. So there's no help in that sense, right? So looking at Bitcoin really for this following week, or at least until Wednesday, what I'm expecting is, even if we do a little spike up to around about $38,000, $39,000, I do expect the price to roll over and come and test these lows. If we do, however, print a higher high here, of course, if we go up to a $39,000, then it is quite likely that we come indeed test that $40,000, $42,000. But again, I do expect this to be very strong resistance here. And the only thing that would convince me that this is bullish is if we are to print a higher high, so higher than these levels here, which is around about $44,000. That's essentially it. Okay, so again, you've got targets to the downside, which is basically these down here. Okay, you've also got an intraday target to the downside, which is these equal lows here around about 35,500. Okay, so that's the first take profit, and this is perhaps the ultimate target for the lows. Okay, so around about 30,000, maybe even a little bit lower. And targets for the highs, obviously we have this $39,000, $41,000, and then essentially $42,000, $43,000 as the ultimate target. If we break above the highs and retain that, for example, if we were to do something like this, okay, and then actually enter this area and start hovering here, then it's very likely that we go and test much higher. If we come all the way up to here and start rolling over, then this is your short entry and we're going to go much lower. Even if we get all the way up to here, but we get a strong rejection and bounce back up again, this should now act as resistance, and again this is a short to the lower side. And basically what we're seeing really, what we want to see really is acceptance in either scenario. Okay, so if we go all the way up to here and we get rejected, that means that we are accepted within this area, so that's a nice little short, and we go to the downside. If we come all the way up here and it finds acceptance, and now this area here is acting as support, then this is an entry for a long, and we test the other side of this balance area. Okay, so it's essentially a game of where we're going to get rejected and where we're going to get acceptance. Okay, obviously from here, if I am correct, I think we're going to go much lower. So this is the first take profit here at around about 35,300, and then perhaps we'll see these levels here, 32,900, so 33k and around about 31k, and that's the levels I'll be looking for in the near future. So at least until Wednesday. Okay, so that's basically it. As you can see here from the balance area, there's those lows are still naked points of control, and I will show that on Exo here. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. There was a naked point of control here that just got tapped. There's another naked point of control here around about 36,150, and there's a much lower naked point of control around about 33,500. This is on a volume profile, of course. If I look at the market profile, the immediate one that I'm looking for is around about 35,200, 35,300, which just so happened to have perfect confluence with those equal lows. 35,500, 35,400, something like that. Okay, so if you see that there, it's a naked point of control there, 35,240, and then of course we've got that one there at $42,000. But again, there's a big gap here in terms of volume that you can see. It's very visible here, very low volume, and this is acting as resistance until further notice. Okay, so essentially what I'm seeing is that a lot of people are still buying at these levels, as you can see here from the predominantly blue colors. Red colors at the bottom. Obviously everybody's always selling the bottom here on Bybit, but we do have a naked point of control here at 35,200, another one at $42,000, and you know the closest one is this one, so it just makes more sense. Okay, so yes, so that's essentially what I'm seeing here on Bitcoin. In terms of the weekly on Bitcoin here, we're still kind of inside last week, so bracketing inside of last week, which was inside the previous week value area, and we haven't tested the lows here. We've got a naked point of control around about $32,000 for the weekly, and this is basically, this is the value area high that I was talking about. Yeah, we came and tested, right, which is all the way back in July. All right, so this is the profile for July here. You can, in fact, I could even merge these two, but I'm not going to right now. You can see there's a naked point of control here at $32,000, and there's the value area high of that particular profile, and you can see here that we tapped it right to the dollar. So essentially that's that. So I think that is it in terms of Bitcoin here, Bitcoin USD. So I hope that helps with your direction. Again, like I was saying, I don't know if that's too confusing for you. I don't think that we're going to go to $42,000 and roll over anymore, although it's a possibility that I've been talking about for quite some time. But I think it's the crowded trade. Everybody's expecting that. So I do expect a lot of people that when it gets to $41,000 or $42,000, they'll be sniping for shorts. Nothing wrong with that, but I just think because it's a crowded trade, it's not going to play out like that. So, and I don't see this being a bear trap or even coming all the way to 42,000 and then smashing up to 50,000. It's just not going to happen, I don't think. So I think the most likely case scenario is that we do a little wick to the upside, take out these two highs, and then we go lower. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. I'll have more for you guys on Wednesday about that. So I've covered market profile on BTC. I've also covered the VWAPs and sort of like shorter time frames here on the 4 hour. So let's have a look at Ethereum USD. And essentially, let's just look at the bigger picture. So you can see here, I've still got the volume profile. I might actually just take that. So let me just, don't know why I've got this. Okay, I see what's happened. So I can do this, a little exercise here. I'm going to take these view apps out of the way. Okay. And the yearly volume profile is still on there. So essentially I'm just going to show you very quickly, very briefly, how I do these volume zones. So essentially just a little rectangle here, and I highlight the edges of these high volume clusters. Okay, so 1, 2, I'll change the color to this one to orange if you like, and then I'll grab another one. This is a bit of a weird distribution here. I'll make that one as green, and I'll put this one as white like that. Okay, so you guys just saw how I did that. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm going with these volume areas here, and I'm just putting rectangles on them. Okay, so I'll just take the yearly volume profile there away. So now you can see where we are in terms of balance. Okay, so again, we are inside of this balance area here. I can use a volume profile. I can come here and put from data A to data B. So this is the value area high, if you like. In fact, I'm just gonna make this a little bit more accurate here. If I put a line here where this point of control is, you can see that the price did deviate to the downside, but it has confirmed it as support. It deviated to the downside round about here, and look at where the price touched. This is value area low, it got touched. Okay, so again, I'm going to change this to blue just to make it a little bit different. So you can see here, let me just change this as well to muted. So you can see the color area is the value area high, if you like, and the value, sorry, it's the value area of this profile. You can see that the value area low of this profile is exactly where I put that blue line, and the point of control is exactly where I put that red line. And as you can see here, the blue line got tapped and has acted as support, which is the value area of this particular range way back in July. All right. So again, the same concept that I was trying to explain to you guys that happened on Bitcoin this week. So again, essentially, we are inside a range. The range low at the moment is around about $2,150. The range high should be around about $2,780, $2,800, something like that. And essentially it's exactly the same thing that I'm seeing on Bitcoin. Okay, so we are sort of like going to the highs here. We didn't quite get to $3,000, but everybody's expecting this to come and test these highs here so that we can roll over and come to the downside. So everybody that kind of got caught out in these kind of lower highs and lower lows is expecting the price to do the same thing. But if you look here, this went up and came down, but it never tested the high of that. Okay, so here we came low, we went and tested the high of that, but then when we came and tested the low again, we never went to test the top of that range there. So you know, it doesn't mean that we're always going to test the top there. Okay, so this is the ideal and the perfect trade, if you like, with minimum risk to the reward, and this would be the ideal short up here. But of course, the market doesn't give a toss what your ideal risk reward is. So again, without trying to diverge too much and to digress too much, we are around about $2,500. The ideal short scenario would be that we would come all the way up to here and then go all the way down to $1,600, but it's a crowded trade. Everybody's expecting that. Okay, so at this balance area, or even perhaps at the value area high here, around about $2,800. Everybody expects it, so perhaps it won't happen. Maybe what will happen is that we'll go straight down from here. Okay, I don't expect the price to just rally from here and print a higher high, but if it does, essentially what we have to do is break this market structure here and get above $3,400 somehow. And if we can do that, then I'll be convinced. Okay, even if it was coming all the way back down here again, I would enter along here and I would be biased to the upside because we've just printed a higher high there, and that's a break in market structure. I hope that makes sense. Because we haven't done that yet, we're still printing lower highs. Essentially this could go as high as here and still be printing a lower high. Okay, so obviously it changes a little bit of dynamics because we're entering a new balance area. I'd have to have a closer look, but I'm just trying to give you examples. Okay, so for me the bias is that we come and target around about $1,500, $1,600 at some point. The question really is if we're going to come and take that that crowded trade up here to 1800 before we snap back down, or if we start going sideways first and then just kind of fake to the upside and come straight back down again. So that's what we'll have to look for, but at the moment I'm still biased to the downside, and with the pressure that we see in the traditional markets, I don't think that this is over just yet. I think this is indicates continuation. Okay, so even if we go and do this, something like this, I think we've got continuation and we've got plenty of room to go further to the downside. Okay, so that's essentially what I'm seeing here on Ethereum USD. Let's have a look at Exocharts on Ethereum USD on the higher time frames, and we've got a naked point of control on the volume profile here at around about 2,380, and another one at around about 2,250, and a very old one around about $2,000. Okay, big round number as well. It has confluence here with a low volume node. in context to this composite profile. So I do think that if we come to the downside, that it's very likely that we come and test these levels down here. Okay, perhaps even lower. Like I said, $1,600 is a possibility. There's plenty of liquidity down there. There's also a composite volume profile. This is for, I believe this is for the 12 months. Yeah, this is the composite of the 12-month price action, composite of the 12-month price action volume profile. And essentially we've got the point of control for that is around about $1,800. So I think this has still got room to move to the downside. But of course we've also got points of control here around about 2,780 and 3,120. So endpox above and endpox below. So that's on the higher time frames. If I look at just the market profile or the daily market profile, just have a quick look for more immediate price action. We did come and test this composite value area here. We kind of came to the downside, but we got rejected straight away. It went back up, but we're not being able to break above it and break above this this consolidation here. So it looks like we're on the way back down again. Very close to the point of control of this week's point of control anyway, around about 2,434. So for me this is a no trade area, no trade zone. And if I was to put this, you can see it's between these two lines here in blue, a darker blue and a lighter blue here. You can see that the price came inside and rejected it. So this should act as support right about now, $2,500. If it doesn't, then we're very likely to enter this balance and come and test these lows down here. Okay, so I'm just going to remove this so you can see the lines now. And there is a volume point of control, a naked volume point of control here around about 2,250 as well. As you can see, there's plenty of naked points of control above, 2,850, 3,123, and one above here which is around about $3,400. I'm not even going to look at these up here just yet, even if Bitcoin does go to 42k before that swing high and maybe a swing failure pattern, because this is above $3,000 for starters. Is a big round number, and also because we've got such a low volume area here. Okay, so really what we want to see Ethereum to get some strength is that we can break above this balance area. Okay, if we break above, I think that at best we can tag this $3,100 level, but I think we would roll over. If so, it'd be very quick large liquid candle to the upside and then a very quick large liquid candle to the downside. Okay, or even a slow bleed to the downside. If of course we start getting acceptance above $3,100, then that's great, but we do depend on Bitcoin to give us direction in that, and I don't think it's going to happen just yet. So I'm a little bit biased to the downside, as you can tell, but we trade level to level, so at least you got some levels to the downside, you got some levels to the upside, and if you keep track of what Boas is doing in the trading pit, you'll have a little bit more direction going into Wednesday. And well, I'll have another TA update for you guys. So that is for Ethereum USD. I'm just going to have a look here to see if there's any questions. Vibodruella is saying he's waiting. Please do XRP analysis. Maybe. Okay, maybe. I'll have to go through all the analysis that I do first with all the other coins, and then if I have time I'll do XRP. So just please bear with me until the end of the live stream, and I will I can have a quick look. Okay. So that's Ethereum USD essentially, and I've done the market profile as well. So let's have a look at Ethereum BTC. Ethereum BTC, we're still very much within this kind of range here, highlighted in blue. Again, it's a volume profile range. Balance area here, basically a big high volume cluster. We come and tested the lows, now we rotate, and essentially this is very much the same as Friday. We're just going to be rotating in between these areas. Okay, so not much has changed in terms of the price of Bitcoin, and of course after such volatility that we've seen in the last sort of like month or so, it's only natural that we go a little bit sideways until everybody's bored again. So I don't expect much of a change here. I've got the three possible case scenarios for Ethereum BTC already on the screen. If you have any more questions about this, please go and watch Friday's, which is the 28th Livestream TA update, and where I'll have a little bit more of an explanation as to where we're going. Okay, if you guys followed the TA update on Friday, then I think you've got a pretty clear idea of where we are and where we should be going. without me going over it again. So essentially we're just rotating. We could be rotating between these two levels here. We could break above. We could essentially be breaking between the whole balance area here, rotating between the highs and the lows. Or if we break to the downside, then we accept into a different balance area and we'll be rotating at these support areas. Green prices here, green lines acting as support, red lines acting as resistance. So that is Ethereum BTC. FODL USDC. I haven't looked at this since Friday. So yeah, price breaks below the point of control. We try to get a little bit higher here. We haven't even tested these levels of support here. I've just put big round numbers as levels of support, but it looks like the price is rolling over. We can't get above the point of control, so that is a little bit telling. I mean, obviously there is a little bit of downwards pressure in the market, as you can see here. Even though Bitcoin is only down 2% on the day, you can see that some of these coins here are 5% down on the day, 3%, 4%, 6%, some even 7 and close to 10% down. Okay, so obviously it's only natural that we see this kind of pressure on any altcoin versus USD. So I expect this to continue as long as Bitcoin starts going down, which is exactly what I said at the beginning of the video. If Bitcoin's going down, there's no point of doing TA for these, for any of these alts. But you've got a more descriptive view of the Friday's TA update. You've got more, I explain why these levels are there. So the red are resistance, the green are support. So if you're not too sure why why I'm going so quickly through these, please go and watch the Friday one, and that should shed a little bit more light towards it. FODL versus ETH, or wrapped ETH if you like. You can see again that there is a little glimmer of hope. There are little bits of buying going on at this level, but the price is still very much sticking to the pressure to the downside. Okay, so again we've got some levels of support down here that haven't been tapped yet, and I do expect those to get tapped in the sort of if nothing changes in the next sort of couple of weeks to a month or so. Okay, AAVE versus USD. Again, very much the same. Not much has changed since Friday. And again, I'll repeat myself. If you haven't watched the technical analysis update from Friday on the 28th of January, please go and have a look at that. It's on the group, where I go into these with a little bit more detail. But essentially what we're ranging now. We've had a big impulse to the downside. Now we're ranging. Okay, so most likely case scenario is ranging between this level of resistance at $160 and $130 as a level of support. Okay, we range sideways until we break to either side. If we break to either side, these are the possible ranges. Okay, the next one would be between $100 and $130, or if we break to the upside, then the next level of resistance would be $190 to $100, something like that, and 160 would then turn into support. Okay, that's essentially it for AAVE versus USD. We'll have to wait and see where we go from here. But if you can pause the video and take a look at these levels, or perhaps even look at the one from Friday, and go from there. Okay, AAVE versus BTC. Again, we're still very much going sideways. This level here was green, meant it was support. It's now above the price, so it's resistance. So I do think that the price is going to go much lower, to all the way down here to about 1800 sats. But there is a possibility that if Bitcoin and Ethereum do go up, that there is a possibility that this gets dragged up as well, and it could perform out Bitcoin, right? I could outperform Bitcoin, but at the moment I'm not seeing signs of that. We did outperform it for a little while, and then we broke that market structure, and we retraced pretty much the whole of the up move. So I'm not too hopeful. I think the most likely case scenario is this one down here, and we go straight down, even if on AAVE versus USD starts going up. If Bitcoin starts going up, they'll most likely outperform these coins, in my opinion. Versus ETH. Again, this was a previous level of support. I mean, is now the price is now below it, so actually is a level of resistance now. We're not rotating above here, so I'll delete this. So the most likely case scenario is that now we retrace this whole inefficient move here to the downside. So this is a very decent short, if you like, on AAVE versus ETH. And we're targeting this area down here around about 486 way. which is essentially where this price consolidated there for a little while, and then we kind of rotate within this parameter here between this level of support and this level of resistance. Of course, there is a possibility that we go a little bit lower and we start rotating here. This is all-time lows, and if the price breaks that, then it's price discovery, and we're just going to have to rely on big round numbers in order to trade to the downside, or to have targets to the downside. Okay, I do expect the price to retrace it, but I also expect it to find support at these levels. Plenty of selling pressure at the moment in all of these coins. Compound versus USD, not much has changed. Those levels of resistance are still there. There's a final level of support down here, perhaps this one down here as well. I'm going to put another line just to be clear of where the all-time lows are. Okay, so you got $81 and $100 as the levels of support. If we break below those, then again it's price discovery, and we're going to go much lower. And we'll have to rely on $60, $50, $40, and so on, big round numbers to the downside, as it will be in price discovery and at all-time lows. Okay, so compound versus BTC, all-time lows, price discovery. So this is just likely to continue to the downside, even if Bitcoin rallies to the upside. Okay, so compound is taking a little bit of a battering compared to Bitcoin, and yeah, there's not really much has changed since Friday. We've not even attempted to get to any of these levels of resistance, so I think continuation is at hand. Okay, compound versus ETH, I expect very much the same thing. This green level here was the all-time lows, and previous support is now resistance, and we are officially in all-time lows on compound versus ETH. I expect continuation, and you'll have to look again at the big round numbers such as 400, 350, 300, 250, and so on for targets to the downside. Okay, BAT versus USD. So this is basic attention token versus USD. We have tested that level of resistance. If you look at the technical analysis on Friday that I did, the live stream update for Friday the 28th, I told you that this low volume node would act as resistance. I put this red rectangle here just to indicate that this, just bear with me just a second. I have a low volume area here. I've put a rectangle there just to tell you that it's not just these low volume nodes. They're not exact areas here where these red levels are, these lines, but it's a general area. Okay, I did say that this is resistance and this is an entry for a short, and indeed that's exactly what's happened. We raised above, we kind of tapped this low volume area here, and now it's acting as resistance, and we've just re-entered this new balance area here, this old balance area actually where we've been. So this is basically where we've been rotating sideways. So I do expect the price, if we get acceptance, which I think we are getting acceptance down here, that we get another rejection at the highs there, and we're very likely to come and test this down here. Okay, so essentially we could be going just sideways here first, but we could also come and test these levels down here and then rotate between these two, like something like this. Okay, which is more or less what's happened here, as you can see. All right, so I do think that we might try and take the bottom of this range here first, okay, simply because we're entering a new balance, and usually when the price enters a new balance area, it tests both sides first. So just a little bit of free alpha there, so it might even go first here and then go back up, so you'll just have to keep an eye on that. But I do think that we've already been rejected at the highs there, and that's a clear rejection of this balance area. So there's no chance that we're going to get acceptance above the $1 mark again, and we're going to go much lower. Okay, so that would be around about 48 cents, 50 cents, and 82 cents. So the lows at 50 cents and the highs at 83 cents. Of course, if we do actually get a rejection here and we break to the upside and find acceptance above, then of course then $1 or 95 cents will be the level to go long, and around about 134, 140 is the level to go short. Okay, so then it would be rotating here as well. So just bear that in mind when you're taking this into consideration. But I do think that at the moment it looks like we've got a rejection there. It's probably more visible on the 4-hour chart. Let me just have a quick look. Yeah, clear rejection of this low volume node here, and we've got acceptance back inside of this range where the blue area is. right? And I don't think we're seeing any strong moves to the upside. Okay, so I do think that we go a little bit lower. So that's basic attention token versus BTC. Sorry, versus USD. On BAT versus BTC, you can see here that we are very much trading just kind of like lower highs. Again, we're probably going to print another lower low and come and test these lows down here at around about 1500 sats or 1600 sats, maybe even as low as 1100 sats. But even if we go higher, I think we're going to print a lower high, so it will be below the 2560 sat level. Okay, so again, we broke that market structure. We were printing a nice little let me just get rid of those lines there, the brush lines. So as you can see here, we were printing a nice little sort of like trend to the upside, okay, higher highs and higher lows, and then we broke that to the downside. And I highlighted this to you guys last week, and I said when we break the market structure like this, then it's very likely that we're going to test the lower prices. So let's just wait and see how low it can go. But at the moment, I do expect the price to get sort of outperformed by Bitcoin, especially if Bitcoin goes to the upside. Okay, BAT versus ETH, again, same kind of scenario. We kind of tested the highs here, but we'd broken market structure. So I think that unless we can print a higher low here and turn around, this level here continues to be resistance at around about 3,500 way. This continues to be resistance as well as this one, and then the levels of support are down here highlighted in green. Okay, so again, my instinct is telling me that even if this goes a little bit higher here, it will not print higher. It will just roll over and go sideways or down, and I don't see any of these coins outperforming the majors in the meantime. I think a lot of these will start getting a little bit left behind, especially as these majors start rotating with a little bit more volatility. Of course, if Bitcoin is just going sideways, then there's room for these alts to run, but we're not seeing Bitcoin going sideways at the moment. It's either going down or a little bit up. So big dumps and small little pumps, that's all we're seeing. So a bit of sideways price action would be nice on the higher time frames. That would allow for all of these alts to run, but we're not seeing that right now, so we'll just have to wait and see. Link versus USD, so Chainlink versus US dollar. We are seeing the price coming and testing these resistance levels. This is usually good. That's usually a good sign that we see price testing these levels. I'm going to put it on the 4-hour chart here. As you can see, that highlighted here a low volume cluster here. So this is a high volume cluster, and the edge of the high volume cluster is exactly where we bounced back down again. So we tested that level of resistance and we came back down. We tested it again, and we definitely got rejected there with a big engulfing candle there, and we're on our way to the downside. So the question will remain now, if we come and test these levels of support, if they will hold, or if we start rotating on a higher sort of on a wider range, if you like, such as the one that I highlighted here. Okay, so as you can see here on the daily. So do we actually use these levels here as support at around about $15 and $13, or do we come much lower and start testing these levels here? Okay, so around about $7 and $10. I expect $10 to be, because it's a big round number, to be a strong level of support. So even if the price comes all the way down here, it will probably start rotating sideways with a possibility of a deviation to the downside. Okay, so now you've got these levels highlighted here, you should have a clear indication of what your levels of support is. Of course, levels of resistance carry on being these low volume nodes to the upside, and also this point of control. And you can see that these are like very much at like between $16 and $18, another one at $20, and another one at around about $26. So big round numbers usually tend to work. So again, very clear rejection here from the highs. So I do expect the price to start rotating a little bit sideways. A little bit downwards and then sideways. So that's Link versus USD. Link versus BTC, very much the same. We retraced all of that move that we had to the upside. We're kind of back in range again, and it just remains to be seen if these levels here of support will hold. I do think they will, although this one is a little bit tired. This first one has been tapped quite a few times. There's about 3 or 4 times here and another 3 or 4 times there. So I wouldn't be relying on this one too much. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller like this, because I think its shelf life is run past. but I do expect this level down here to hold as support. Okay, so these levels should hold even if we do come to the downside. And there is a level here, I don't know why this is in red, actually it was previous resistance, but it should be support now, as it is below the price. So I'm going to put those levels of support as the price is above it. Okay, so we did rally away from this point of control, as you can see here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. So the point of control is exactly where this this low volume, sorry, this lower green line is, which is an area of support, if you like. So this should act as support. I think that this line here is actually redundant. I'm going to take that off. If the price gets rejected without even getting to the top there of resistance, it's not a great sign, but we are above the point of control. This one's been battered as well, so I wouldn't expect this, like I said, I wouldn't expect this low volume node to hold much longer. It's been tested way too many times, but I do expect these levels here to hold as support, and same for here. Levels of resistance are still very much the same here, around about 4,800 sats, and then 5,500, etc. Levels of support between 3,300 sats and 2,500 sats. Okay. Link versus ETH, very much the same thing. We kind of pumped a little bit, but we're kind of still below that resistance level here, which kind of just like, you know, we got above it, but now we're just below it. So not really, nothing burger for me in terms of this pump. Breaking market structure is highlighted here. This is a market structure of the lows. The market structure of the highs is round about here. Okay, so you can see that this is a previous high, right? So we came here, we printed a low, now we printed a higher high, and now it does look like we're printing a higher low. So let's just wait and see. Okay, so we printed a higher low here as well. Okay, so this could be the beginning of something interesting for Link versus ETH, as we printed a higher high, and now it looks like we're printing a lower low. So what we want to see now, and I'm going to make this a little bit clearer here by removing these levels here. What I want to see now is the price do rally from here, okay, and either rotate and do this kind of price action here or this one. If the price breaks below this market structure here, then this is null and void. It is no longer constructive price action, in my opinion. Okay. If, however, the price stays above this low here, around about 6,000 way, that is constructive price action, and it's very likely that we go for more upside and perhaps see if we can take this high here and print a higher high, so somewhere up there. All right, so we'll just have to keep a close eye on this one, as it does look quite promising. This is something that I've just noticed. I don't think I noticed this on the Link BTC. It's not noticeable on the Link BTC, even though there is a printed higher high there. This is a lower low, so it's lower than the last one. So not valid on BTC, however on ETH it is valid. As you can see here, we're printing higher highs and finally a couple of higher lows. So again, just to be very clear, we mustn't print a low below this level here. All right, so if we print a low below this level of support here, then that's breaking market structure. So if, however, we do go higher from here, then we need to go at least to this level of resistance here, 9,500 sats way, I believe. I hope that makes it clear for you guys. So an interesting prospect here for Link versus ETH. It's definitely constructive price action. It would be interesting to see if it is a continuation. If it has continuation, I do expect Link to outperform Ethereum and therefore Bitcoin. So keep an eye on that. Uni versus USD, very much at the same place where it was on Friday. There's not really any resolution to that. There's no point of any TA on that. We're at support right now. Even if we come and test these levels high up here, I do expect this to act as resistance and then roll over and come to the downside. Okay, so again, we've got a low volume node holding us up right now, but it has been tested quite a few times. So Uniswap is at the very lows here, but there is more room for the downside. But I think we've kind of extended ourselves a little bit too much. I think that we might see some upside before we see more downside, if that makes any sense. So again, levels of resistance, $12, $14, and $16. The closest levels of support are 10, 8, and $4. Okay, so that's Uni versus BTC. Sorry, Uni versus USD. Uni versus BTC next. We have entered this low volume cluster here. The price can travel very quickly all the way to the downside. I've highlighted with these little things here, basically these little circles. I'm going to delete them all, but essentially they're just low volume nodes here. And you can see I've got a significant one here in between these two balance areas. So there's a high volume balance area here, and a jagged, very weird distribution type of balance area here. Okay, so I would expect the price to continue to travel sideways and perhaps downwards, and continue to print lower highs and lower lows. Okay, so this was a higher high, but then we broke that market structure to the downside, and we've printed a lower low, lower than this one. So continuation is at hand, and even if we come all the way up here, I do expect the price to carry on going down. However, as you can see here from this circle here and the red rectangle, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. This, in context, is a low volume node, so I do expect this area here around about 3,150 sats to be strong resistance. Okay, so even if price goes to test the highs, this should act as resistance, and the price will roll over and go to the downside. That's my bias right now. I'm happy to be proven wrong. So that's Uni versus BTC. Uni versus ETH, we're very much extinguished all of that support liquidity there. As you can see, this is a low volume node. We bounced on there a couple of times, but we really are clutching at straws here as we break below this next one here. So once this one breaks, then I think it's very close to all-time lows, and there's nothing really holding us to carry on doing with some of these coins are doing, which is basically going on price discovery to the downside. All right, so so very good opportunities in these coins, but again, continuation is at hand. We did print a higher high, but we've just broken market structure and printed a lower low in comparison to these. Okay, so what started off as constructive price action is very much turned around and is now deconstructive price action. Okay, so actually we could come and test all these highs up here, and maybe even this one up here, but I do think that the price rolls over like that. I think the most likely case scenario is that even if we do see a bounce here, it'll probably only stop here and go much lower. Okay, so just bear that in mind. I hope this was useful for you guys. I'm going to do a little request here for Vibo. Let's have a look at XRP. I'll start with XRP. Have I even got XRP USD here? I don't know if I do. Let's have a look. No, let's have a look at XRP USDT, XRP USD, and I'll have a look at the I'll have a look at Bybit. So daily chart, completely clean. There's no volume there. There's no no indicators there. I hope you're still here. Vibo Ruhela, thanks for hanging on until the end of the stream. So basically we are at very, very strong support. Okay, so this is previous resistance all the way back in the beginning of the year. We've confirmed this as support a number of times. This is very strong support, but it has been tapped at least 4 or 5 times now. So I wouldn't rely on it so much for it to hold much longer. Okay, just because it's been tapped so many times, it doesn't make it stronger, it actually makes it weaker. We do have a low volume node here, and another one here, and the edge of this high volume cluster is around about here. So I'll put these levels here as support. Levels of resistance, I shall put this one here, turn this to red, and I think the most significant one is here, just to give you a better idea. Okay, and I'm going to take this volume profile off, and now you've got some levels here. So 35 cents, 42 cents, and 49 cents, or 50 cents for support, and then levels of resistance 68, 77, and 91 cents. Okay, and $1. So I do think that we have continuation here. Again, lower highs, lower lows. There's no sign of break in market structure, so the chart is telling us that it's just going to carry on going down. unless something changes. And for it to change, we would like to see the price break above this previous high here, okay? And if it breaks above that, then we need to print a higher low, so it has to stay above this level here, okay? So essentially the bullish case scenario would be something like this, come back, and then start doing constructive price action. All right, so that's essentially what we want to see for XRP. Otherwise, we're going to start rotating back within this level here, and for me, this is an important balance area here. I'm going to make that as blue, and I think now that we are inside of this area, we come and rotate and take these levels of support here and test them all if there is continuation for Bitcoin and Ethereum to go to the downside, okay? And resistance will carry on being this first level of resistance at around about 68 cents. I hope that is clear for you. I hope you guys found all this thing useful. I will do the timestamps a little bit later on, as I've got a crack on and I've got a few things to do this afternoon. But as soon as I get back, I'll do some timestamps for you. I hope this was useful, and yeah, trade smart. I'll speak to you guys soon. Take care. Bye bye.